Let's talk about some awesome knitting patterns that were released this past April. Hello everyone, Rochelle here, and I'm back to share some yarn goodness with y'all today. Alright, so today we're going to talk about garments, accessories, and patterns for the home. All right, so my co-host Coda is already trying to get my shawl, but he can't have it. All right, so all the patterns that we talk about today are going to be free, either as a download or free on the designer's blog. And I can already tell that my dog is probably going to shake the camera, so apologies in advance. All right, let's start with garments. Okay, so the first garment we have is the Sweetwater Tee, designed by Asha Butta for Paroko. Y'all know me and names by now. So this calls for worsted weight yarn, and the bust circumference ranges between 33.75 to 70.25 inches. And in centimeters, that is 85.5 to 178.5. All right. Ooh, Coda's making me nervous. He's like circling around my camera. But anyway, you will need 2 knitting needle sizes. You will need a US 5, which is a 3.75. And you will also need a US 7, which is a 4.5 millimeter. Now, this garment has 4 to 8 inches of positive ease. And in centimeters, that is 10 to 20. And also in terms of the skills and things like that, you'll need Coda. You moving the camera, bud. Your leg is literally in the tripod. Move your leg. Okay, you're going to make people dizzy. All right, so you will need to know how to knit, purl, and decrease. And this is knitted bottom up, and it features a drop sleeve and a scoop neck. Let's move on to our next pattern. It is the Easy Roll Tee, designed by Rachel Alford of Crazy Nook Designs. This calls for DK weight yarn, and the bust circumference ranges between 30 to 62 inches, and in centimeters, that's 75 to 155. You will need 2 knitting needle sizes for this one. You will need a US 7, which is a 4.5, and you will need a US 6, which is a 4 millimeter. So this pattern, wow, Coda, sweetheart, you can't move my camera. Let's see if we can move this back. Get a dog, they said. Buddy, look. You can't be moving mama's camera around, okay? All right, so where was I? So the skills you will need in order to make this include the backwards loop cast on, long tail cast on, knit 2 together, knit front and back, purl, and slip knit. Okay. All right. It begins with working back and forth in rows for the back and to shape the neckline. And then it is joined in the round. Okay, you want kisses? You want kisses. Okay. This is not the time for kisses. This is not the time, Coda. Let mommy do her video. Okay. All right, so let's talk about our third top. It is the Elixir top, designed by Rachel Brockman for Universal Yarns. So this one calls for DK weight yarn, and the bust circumference ranges between 30 to 63.5 inches. And in centimeters, that's 76.2 to 161.3. You will need 2 knitting needle sizes for this one. You will need a US 7, which is a 4.5 millimeter, and a US 6, which is a 4 millimeter. The ease is 4.25 inches or 10.8 centimeters of positive ease. And the skills that you will need include knit, purl, yarn over, and slip knit. This top is knit flat in pieces from the bottom up and seamed, and stitches for the neckband are picked up and worked in the round. All right, let's go to our next pattern. It is the Skylark Cardigan, designed by Laura Zakate for Knitty Magazine. This one calls for fingering weight yarn, and the bust circumference ranges between 32 to 64 inches. And in centimeters, that is 81 to 162.5. You will need 2 knitting needles for this one. You will need a US 10.5, which is a 6.5 millimeter. You will also need a US 6, which is a 4 millimeter. And this one has 0 inches, 0 centimeters of positive ease. So you definitely want to make sure you get your sizing right on this one. You will need to know how to knit, purl, knit 2 together, purl 2 together, and yarn over. So this is worked flat bottom up. The front panels are decreased diagonally to create ties, which can be adjusted in the front. The sleeves have a very tight cuff, so they have very tight cuffs, and it has a drop shoulder construction. Now, let's go on to our next pattern. This is the Lacy Columns Cardigan, designed by Tori Gerbaz Chapel for Premier Yarns. It calls for DK weight yarn, and the bust circumference ranges between 34.25 to 66.25 inches. And in centimeters, that is 86.9 to 168.3. So you will need 2 knitting needle sizes. You'll need a US 5, which is a 3.75 millimeter. And you will need a US 6, which is a 4.0 millimeter. This particular pattern has 3 to 4 inches of positive ease, and in centimeters, that is 7.6 to 10.2. You will need to know quite a few skills in order to make this cardigan, and those skills include knit, purl, knit 2 together, purl 2 together, knit 3 together, slip, slip, knit, slip, slip, purl, yarn over, seaming with the mattress stitch, 3 needle bind off, picking up, and knitting stitches. So if you're looking for a pattern that is going to be a fun challenge, this pattern is it. All right, so it is worked flat, bottom up, in pieces, and seamed. The bands are knit at the same time as the body. The back neck edging is worked during the seaming process by working live back stitches together with a garter stitch edging. And that's why I always say the great thing about these patterns being free is that I can go through and research and read about the construction of the pattern before I share it with you all. All right, so let's go on to our next pattern. And it is the Nostalgia Pullover, designed by Laura Zagate for Yarnalia. And it calls for worsted weight yarn. And the bust circumference ranges between 40 to 68 inches. And in centimeters, oh dear, I didn't write what it was in centimeters, so I will put it up here. All right, so the ease is not mentioned, but the pattern says that the design has an oversized fit. And it has 2 knitting needle sizes. I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but it's a US 8, which is a 5 millimeter, and a US 7, which is a 4.5 millimeter. So you will need to know how to do a few skills. You'll need to know how to knit, purl, sew up side seams, knit 2 together, slip stitches, slip, slip, knit, yarn over, and do some cabling. So I really like the beautiful cables and the detail in this pattern. Coda, you can't keep moving my camera, bud. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. All right, so let's talk about accessories. All right, our first accessory is the knitted cotton market bag designed by Linda Thatch of Pearl Avenue. This one calls for worsted weight yarn, and the finished size is, it has a circumference of 38 inches or 97 centimeters, a length of 18 inches or 28 centimeters, and that's without the handles. But with the handles, it's 27 inches or 69 centimeters. You will need a US 7, which is a 4.5 millimeter knitting needle. And you will need to know how to do a few skills. And those skills include knit, purl, knit 2 together, yarn over it, and the 3 needle bind off. The size is very generous. It allows extra space for all your farmer market needs. Anywhere you want to take it, to the grocery store, to the beach, wherever you want to go. It also is designed with long handles so you can throw it over your shoulders and be comfortable. And then it has a mesh and stockinette stitch design that creates a very durable structure. Okay, so the next pattern we have is the split handbag designed by Ellen Ferderer, and it calls for super bulky weight yarn, and the finished size is 11.8 inches by 3.9 by 8.7, and that's length times width times height, and in centimeters that's 30 by 10 by 22. So you will need a US 10, which is a 6mm knitting needle. And my dog is playing with his basketball right now, so you might hear that. I am going to tell you what the skills are. You will need to know how to knit, purl, knit 2 together, and knit 2 together through the back loop. And this bag is knitted bottom up in one piece. All right, let's talk about patterns for the home. Okay, so the first one is the Lumi tissue cover designed by Titsy. And that's T-S-I-T. So I'm assuming that's how you pronounce it. And for the yarn weight, you will need 2 strands of sport or 1 strand of worsted weight yarn. The pattern does not list the finished size, but it starts with a cast on of 121 stitches. And you can adjust those cast on stitches based on the size of your tissue box. Also, the knitting needle size that you will need is a US 7, which is a 4.5mm. You will need to know how to knit, purl, knit 2 together, slip, slip, knit, Italian tubular cast on, and the 2x2 Italian coda. You're killing me. You're killing me, buddy. You're killing me. Mommy is trying to work. Mommy is trying to work. Okay, I'm going to need you to go over there. Okay? All right. And also, this pattern is available for free on Ravelry and Instagram. All right, so the next one is the Multi-Directional Blanket designed by Tori Gerbaz Chappell for Premier Yarns. This one calls for Aran weight yarn, and it has 4 different sizes. It has baby, throw, queen, and king size. And it comes in a US 9, which is a 5.5mm. You will need to know how to knit, change colors, and seam with the mattress stitch. And this blanket is worked flat and striped panels, and those are seamed together once the knitting is complete. All right, so let's talk about what I am wearing. I am wearing the Age of Brass and Steam shawl designed by Orange Flower Yarns. And it is a free pattern, and I uploaded an entire video about this pattern. And yeah, so I will leave my Ravelry link below so you can check out the video link because I have it all in there together. So what were your favorites? Let me know. Thank you all so much for your patience. I do have a puppy. He's 4 months old, and he just has to get used to me filming. He just has to. So I appreciate your patience today. But let me know, what are your favorite patterns? Have you already made some of these patterns? What were some patterns that you found in April that you really enjoy? And also, I knit and I crochet. So I have already uploaded a crochet roundup for April. So definitely go check that out. In fact, here's a little clip. If you're looking for a pattern that is good for the whole family, this pattern is it. And this project would be great for mini skeins and scrap yarn. We all have scrap yarn. We may all have mini skeins. So if you're looking for a way to use them up, this jacket is for you. And the skills are very simple for this one, y'all. You only need to know how to chain, double crochet, and single crochet. So if you're looking for an easy breezy pattern, this bucket hat is perfect for you. This is a Tunisian crochet pattern, so I had to sneak one in. I don't know how to Tunisian crochet, but maybe this pattern can inspire me to learn. Let me know what you worked on while watching, or did you just chill? I love reading you all's comments. Feel free to click the like button, the notification bell, and the subscribe button. And yeah, if you enjoyed it, definitely show some love. I would really appreciate it. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, bye!